These are the days of miracle and wonder. This is the long distance call. Welcome back to Val Verde Broadcasting. That was Boy in the Bubble by Paul Simon, because I thought it might be appropriate for these days. I am the Duncan Casey. This is the Richard Jackson. Say hello, Richard Jackson.
Hello. The Richard Jackson, yeah.
Yeah. Welcome back to Val Verde. Welcome back to Val Verde Broadcasting. In this lockdown Britain. I don't know why I'm trying to sound like a radio DJ, but
why not? Why the fuck?
Why not? So this is if this is the first of these kinds of videos that you've come to on the channel, sorry, but also we have obviously shifted format because currently the UK is in lockdown. We are not allowed to leave our houses except for to buy shopping essentials and for one piece of exercise, one tiny rationed piece of exercise that we're allowed out of the house for. So it's kind of fallen into our hands quite nicely, actually. We were able to do these kind of impromptu little chit chats, which is nice, and we don't have to go anywhere to do them. So thanks the internet and science. So today we're going to talk about impressions. This is actually something Richard wanted to talk about. As some of you know, I do stupid voices, and sometimes people pay me for it. And so Richard wanted to just sort of, we were just going to have a loose chit chat about that and kind of what that involves and what goes on. And hopefully I don't come off too obnoxious as I do voices.
No. Oh, my mouse curses over your face. Let me just move that. I just thought it'd be interesting because people ask about it quite a lot, and your impressions are very. I do sort of like the odd voice, right? And mostly it's just kind of like, here's what I think a YouTube commenter sounds like. And there's a few like celebrity ones that I try sometimes, but I sort of when we started working together, I realised that I didn't have to bother because you had it covered. And I wonder if there's a more technical element to it, because just at the end of the last recording, you were doing Ken Bruce, which is really niche. Ken Bruce and Terry Wogan are really great kind of niche ones that don't really travel, but that's just why they're good. You see, that's why I like them.
Yeah.
The other thing, because what I found, because I went self-employed after I met you, two things I was doing at home a lot was talking to myself in Pierce Brosnan and Christopher Walken's voice on my attempts at them. And because I think the thing with the Pierce Brosnan one, and what people don't appreciate, is that it's like nobody does that.
Yeah, that was kind of my thing really, because a lot of people did the Bonds, they would do the James Bonds, but no one did Pierce Brosnan. And I think when the few occasions when people did do it, they would do it this like Irish accent, which is like, all right, I know he's from Ireland, but he's not like, hello there, top of the morning. Like, what? Like, that's
you might say I did a fucker or fanny. Sorry. Sorry. Okay.
There's no point in living if you can't feel alive.
You forgot the first round of show business. Give him what he wants.
Very good, Richard. Very good deep cuts there.
Thank you.
Tomorrow Never Dies.
Bit of actual Tomorrow Never
Very
Dies.
Nice.
Which is probably the most
Very
recent
nice.
Bond I watched. Because there you go. See, I've been to where Pierce Brosnan comes from. I went to Ireland's
Navan. Is it Navan?
I can't remember, but I've been there.
Okay.
So here's the thing: the in to Pierce to immerse yourself in Pierce. To me, you have to say, I did actually do that gesture. Duncan can't see me right, but I did do that gesture.
Oh, right, okay.
But I can see Duncan.
Nice.
Right. You have to go, yeah, like that's how you get it. I know mine's not as good, but you go, yeah, Pierce Brosnan, breakfast cereal. Oh.
Well, so I think, so here's sort of to get more technical about impressions. Like, so I've never really kind of thought too hard about how to do it. Sometimes I have when it's been people I can't really get. More on that later. So Jeff Goldblum was always a stick for me that I really couldn't get, and some would argue I haven't yet.
Well, I think you have, but this is sorry to derail, but all these voices have, because there's young and old Michael Caine, young and old Schwarzenegger, and I think you do sort of current day Goldblum, which is quite distinct from younger day Goldblum, and I think a more interesting voice than younger Goldblum.
Yeah, it's more the sort of dithery stuff, because that's fun. But that's what I mean. It's the way in, and I suppose maybe it's the actor's way into doing it, but it's that thing of getting their kind of it's not so much about the accuracy of the voice. I think that comes naturally once you understand what's behind it and what's behind their kind of how they do things. So Pierce, for example, I mean, like my key in with Pierce, it wasn't watching his movies, it was watching his interviews, because it's in his interviews. Like, he's someone who I think thinks as he goes, like, rather than, he doesn't have to, which is great, but he doesn't have too many prepared answers. So, but he does have sort of fallback phrases and gestures.
Right.
So it's that you know, well, you know, I mean, he's a very chill dude. So it's kind of like, I think, especially when you look at his old stuff, especially when he was James Bond and he was like the coolest person on the planet, it's all very like flowery and kind of. I suppose and he sort of goes, there it is, you know. That's it, and it's sort of, he has that kind of, that's it.
Well,
really, you know,
he's he's chilled, isn't he? Like real. That's what's like. Pierce is very affable and chilled. He never seems kind of aloof. So that's why I like the kind of like, because it's just like, he is cool. He's a cool fucker. Yes, you know.
Yeah. He's a very positive. I think he generally tends to say things very positive, which, and not in a kind of sycophantic way, but in a kind of, he's just a very sort of positive person, I think, and it's fun. Yeah, it's just a nice energy, I suppose. It's that's what it's really about. So,
well, do you have WhatsApp open?
I do. I see you just sent.
I sent you something. So what I wanted, because what I often think about is, well, you know, I did this in Risky Quizness, and it's in our best of. Getting you to read mundane instructions in a voice, I just think is really funny, because it's something you wouldn't normally hear. You know, you wouldn't normally hear. If you could you just scroll down to? I'm going to say, if you scroll down to after the blue boxes. The first paragraph there. Could you just read stop before the bullet points? Just read those two paragraphs as Pierce. This is from the NHS guidelines on male contraception. Is that all right?
I don't know that. I'll try. I mean, can I go off script a bit? Like, throw in, you know.
If there's Pierceisms in there, then, you know, just
okay. This is cold read, people. Cold read.
So what you did? You did it on Risky Quizness magnificently.
Yes, you can, wife. Yes, go ahead. Sorry, wife's just asked me if you turn the shower on, because it makes a bit of a noise. Don't worry. With a note under the door, bless her. Oh. Okay. All right, here we go. Hello. Condoms are the best way to protect yourself against sexually transmitted infections, STIs, and unwanted pregnancy. Oh, no. Condoms are a barrier contraceptive made from latex rubber and a synthetic rubber called polysoprene. What? I don't know. You know, very thin plastic called polyurethane. A shrink wrap. That's it, really. Done. Yeah, that wasn't. I don't know. I find it a bit weird when I have to read things that aren't what someone would say.
So okay, let's.
For some people that works well, and some people it doesn't. I don't know.
Here's a right. Okay, fine. Here's a. I'll send something else in that I've just mined. Okay. I didn't plan. By the way, I didn't plan this all along. I've just improvised here because Duncan was like, "What we're going to talk about." I wasn't secretly sitting on all this stuff to do. So
okay.
I want to segue into one that you do a lot, which is it's one that's done very widely. And I think it's debatable the degree to which it's done well. And we have done this before, so sorry to revisit old ground. This is probably for newer people. But could you just do this as... Could you do this as... No, actually, I've changed my mind. Could you do this as Ian McKellen? Ian McKellen.
Oh, okay. I'll try. I haven't done... I'm not...
Well, remember, you know... mimetic polyalloy.
Serene, you should not pass, Serene. Okay, I'm rusty on Serene, but I'll
if you could read the title as well, just to set the scene, that'd be great.
I think you kind of have to sit like him as well.
This is it. Right, this is Ian McKellen. Imagine you've been called in for Audible. You're here for Audible, and you're recording an audiobook of Lord of the Rings. That's kind of what you're doing.
I have to get kind of. You've got to get a bit.
See, this is what I'm talking about. See, this is you're thinking about the jowls. Thinking about the shape of his face, how his face works.
Yeah. That's and it's so true that it's visual as well. So I'm always better at an impression after I've watched something or I've seen them do something. Because especially in McKellen, it's very much his facial kind of physicality informs how he talks. So, and it's hard to sustain over this kind of length, but I'll try. How to use a tampon.
Sorry.
Sorry. Relax. It's much easier to insert a tampon when you're relaxed. You know? It usually takes a few tries before being able to comfortably insert a tampon. So don't worry.
I had to take my headphones off.
Refer to the instructions and diagram, so you know what to do. A tampon is actually made up of two parts. The tampon itself that you insert into your body and the plastic applicator you use to insert it. The sport applicator. You might as well call it turbo. The sport applicator is a smooth tapered barrel. Now I'm getting very Alan Partridge. Alan's creeping in now. That's a smooth tapered barrel. Barrel. You roll the R's on that.
Barrel.
Can I stop now? Because I'm just so
that was wonderful. That was so good.
It was rusty. That's the thing. It's like I'm kind of on the spot with these.
So I can't.
Great.
I sort of with Ian McKellen, because for me, I can just sort of do posh bloke. You know what I mean? It's sort of like Ian, insert the applicator. It's just like, to me, all I could do is kind of posh guy. You know what I mean?
Well, I can hear what you're doing is you're doing that very much at the front of your mouth. And I think, so bear in mind, he's a theatrically trained actor. It comes from down here. So it's kind of got, so you need to kind of push it more to the back of your throat, would be my tip for the day.
Oh, God. I've just...
So then it's sort of down there.
Down here. So in.
Yeah.
See, I just end up...
So then, but he's slightly northern, don't forget. So he's kind of got that Yorkshire kind of thing going on.
That's the thing with Patrick Stewart as well, because he's secretly a Yorkshireman. And he's got that kind of radery thing. But if you hear him talking he's been doing that voice for so long now that's just his voice. But in actual fact, he does have... It's like because John Barrowman has that American accent, but in actual fact, he's from Glasgow. So he does secretly have like a Scottish accent that he has as well from when he was younger.
Yeah, Michael Bublé as well. It's like Canadian, but...
Yeah, because I'm not saying that because some people could be a bit pretentious and put on a fake accent or whatever, but certain people, they've just spoken like that for so long, that is their voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Mel Gibson, because Mel Gibson, even though Mel Gibson was in fact born in New York, but grew up in Australia, so he kind of started off with an Aussie accent, and then but now I think people expect him to have an Aussie accent when he's interviewed, but he doesn't. Same with Delroy Lindo, actually. He Lindo, sorry. It always says, like, obviously on his IMDb, it's like born in England, so everyone expects him in an interview to be like, "Hello, mate, apples and pears." And it's like, and he just sounds like he does in all his movies, because he's lived in the States since he was a kid. Like, he grew up there. He's not really British. In all the interviews, bless him. I looked up interviews with him a while ago, and it was like, in every single one starts the exact same way, where he's like, "I'm American." Like, that's everyone asked me that. I'm not bloody British. You know, it's hilarious. So anyway, but yeah, so then there's sort of down here, and it's a projection thing as well. It's a kind of like, you know, but there's also quite, you know, so you got to, you know, it's all that kind of. You need to be kind of quite.
See, that I can do.
Yeah. Flabby of jowl.
Flabby of jowl.
Flabby of jowl. And imagine that you've got weights pulling down your face. Just like Brazil, you know. Sort of that sort of thing, I guess.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how good it is, really.
I think it's great. I think that's why it hit home with the Terminator thing, because no one was ready for that. Certainly not me. Least of all me. I was not ready for that. So the other, like the other one, really obvious one is Schwarzenegger, and the problem with that one
Right.
is, and again, and I think the reason why a good one hits home so much is because doing Schwarzenegger impressions is a thing that blokes do in the pub. And I remember when I was like 18, we were all fucking sat in the pub going like, "Duh!" And that's mostly what it is people going, "Duh!" and going, "Get to the chopper." And that's got to varying degrees of success. I will say it is a nice thing. I'm not getting down on that. It's a nice thing because it's a universal shorthand. And it seems to be one of those male bonding things, is to sort of go like, "Duh, I'll be back." But Schwarzenegger, there's young and old Arnold, which I think are important distinctions. Much like Michael Caine, young and old. And also, Schwarzenegger did actually have his jaw set back in his head via surgery. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, no.
So when he was younger, he had like a massive underbite and he had it corrected surgically. And I know someone who's had that as well. So I think it was before he became particularly public facing. I mean, I would imagine that happened, say, before Hercules in New York. He doesn't seem to have a protruding jaw or anything in Hercules, for example.
Yeah.
And there is a difference, because I think that's the thing, the transition between young and old Arnold, there's a big difference there. And it's sort of like like Alien Isolation, the DLC where you play as the Nostromo crew is really cool. And like the Ripley cameo in the main game, spoilers for a fucking 6-year-old game, whatever, which is a voice cameo only. They are obviously 40 years older. Because, like Veronica Cartwright and stuff, you can just tell their voices are really old. But, like, who else are you going to get? Are they the best people to get for the job?
She had an old voice. Veronica Cartwright always had quite an old,
yes,
serious smoking habit voice. Anyway, but yeah.
So,
I'm Veronica Cartwright.
I can do it.
G'day, I'm the cow kitten. Get a wet floor saw out. I'm up to my ankles.
Right. So young. Can you do a transition from young to old Schwarzenegger?
Yeah. Well, there's been an interesting kind of I wouldn't profess to have been at the vanguard of this at all, but there has been a sort of recent sort of uptick in people doing young and old impressions, and it's usually like Al Pacino, because Al Pacino seems to have this big cut-off where he just jumped. It was really like Scent of a Woman. That's current Pacino. Well, and then in recent times he's turned into some old Southern woman, which is weird. And before that it's obviously Serpico type stuff, and Dog Day Afternoon. But it's like Arnold transition more. So it's like when you get to stuff like Kindergarten Cop, he still says some things like young Arnold, like Thierry. Thierry. It's this sort of sense of wonder in his voice that I think has been slowly.
There is this weird. It is kind of odd, because even though, like, if you watch like Arnold in Rio, the thing where he goes to Brazil, he's clearly like a raging fucking pervert in the 1970s. Like he's just like this raging horn dog. But he does have. Young Arnold has that strange sort of childlike quality. There is a kind of like pseudo innocence to it. Like the voice is rising like this all the time, like
which makes what he's saying even worse. So like the whole, it's like coming at home, it's coming in the gym, and he's very nasal as well. That's the thing. It's like up here, and then but yeah, that to sort of be then to be kind of going like, and then you get your maid and you put the baby in there. It's like that's.
India.
This is sort of like uncontrollable. Like it's like sort of someone who's in a care home because they get quite rapey.
Yes,
like, they drink lemonade or something.
Drink lemonade, which
is a thing. I did it. So segue quickly. When I used to play in a band, we played in a pub once, and this shows this is total British mundanity at its best. But there was the people who turned up to watch were a bunch of Americans from an American USAF base, and who were really great and everything. And then, but there was a couple of guys who were from a care home locally. One of whom the landlady said to me when we were setting up, she goes, "He'll ask you if you can play the drums. Don't let him, and we have to give him lemonade and don't give him any Coke because Coke makes him rapey." Now this the landlady was from like Yorkshire, so she goes, "Don't give him. He gets rapey."
Rapey.
Rapey, and she was like, "Yeah, you can't give him Kirk because he gets rapey." And I was like,
It was Jodie Whittaker. Jodie Whittaker.
It was.
The current Doctor Who. Makes him rapey.
It was.
Huddersfield.
That's what she said. In the retarded. So, you can't say that. But yeah, so that's the thing. Anyway, back to young Arnold. Yeah, he kind of, for him, again, it's kind of, if you mentally put the voice, it's what part of you you're using for resonance. So obviously, Ian McKellen's down here, because again, any sort of classically trained actor, he said, not really being one, or not, certainly not following my training all the time, but uses their diaphragm and projects. So it's a very theatre thing. I mean, Patrick Stewart does like that as well. You know, he's kind of, that's what it's like. And and those sorts of people are probably quite annoying to go to the pub with because they're very loud.
I had Stephen Fry used to be a regular in the hotel that I worked at, and he was very nice. But fuck me, when he took a mood, it'd be like, and then I was speaking to Andrew Lincoln, like from across the fight. You could hear it reverberate across the restaurant. Because I know he's not he's not a classically trained actor or anything, but fuck me, does he project his voice? Like, loud.
Well, I don't know if he is. He did Footlights and stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, but I think like all those Footlights people, they were actually doing BAs in law or whatever.
So young Arnold, and I wonder if it is his acting training actually, because he starts off up here and then he does down there, you know, and it's like I wonder if some of that is his training as an actor, because he only did that in his 30s or something.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
It could be that, yes. So that's the distinction, and then obviously sort of post gubernatorial Arnold is a bit more diddery and you know, it's all that kind of
mumbly fumbly granddads.
Yeah.
He's kind of he's become your mad old granddad, hasn't he, Arnold? He's like posting videos with his ponies and all that.
Yeah, well, and also he just like for the longest time he had a kind of De Niro "you talking to me" thing where he wouldn't do like his catchphrases much.
Yeah, and then he leaned.
I'll be back.
He leaned the fuck into it, didn't he? Really, because it was one of those things he just didn't do for ages, and then suddenly there's videos popping up online of him going "get to the chopper" like every.
It's like someone finally explained irony to him, so he's like sat in the. All of his videos always end with one. So it's like I saw one where he was in the jacuzzi. It was like, "Stay home, don't do this. Yeah, put that cookie down." And it was like, what's that got to do with? All right,
yeah. And, cheers, Grandad. Yeah. Can we go now, man? He's weird.
It's like you just like see him like when he's meeting people, just like crying babies walking, or like toddlers walking away from him, like, like made them cry. But it's the shouting. So a lot of people when they do their impressions, like you said earlier about the whole like the it's shouty Arnold. There's that like that sort of whatever it is raspy thing at the back of the throat is. And like I've always said for the longest time, I would have loved to have been one of the audio technicians or just a fly on the wall when he was doing ADR for Total Recall, because there's so much like you know like when all his puppets.
Man, dubbing Arnold puppets.
Yeah. So that must have been a great day at work. But I don't know what else to say. What other?
Well, there's a transition there, because I've always thought because like Arnold Schwarzenegger doesn't, like, he sounds Austrian, but he doesn't sound like other Austrians, which is something that is also Sean Connery versus other Scottish people. Because like a lot of what Sean Connery's voice actually comes from a speech impediment, doesn't it? Like his kind of thing is like a minus. Did you hear his brother? Is it Neil Connery or whatever? He sounds more like a Scottish person. Whereas, like, if you hear, like, he's clearly Scottish, but he doesn't sound like other Scottish people. And he's another one who has that kind of young to old.
Yeah, thing. Yeah. Although, again, I think he kind of got old and cantankerous before his time. A little bit.
He definitely feels like one of those people that was always a miserable old bastard. Because he's like, I swear he did all his aging by 1979 and has looked the same ever since. It's just like he was Sean Connery, they just kind of turned into a haunted tree and stayed that way until today.
Yeah, I mean, I think, do you know what? I think by all accounts, I mean, the sort of second and third hand accounts I've had of people who have had anything to do with him or worked with him even, is that he is a massive laugh to work with, but he is hard work. Like, as in, not like difficult, but just like he is on your case 24/7, like when you're working, which is fair enough, because he's basically like, come on, like, you should know what you're doing, and you should know what you're doing, and blah blah blah. And I gather that's what he's kind of like, and he is the alpha dog in every situation, but he is a kind person, I believe, and he's a nice person, and he's funny. Like, all those outtakes from The Rock are hilarious. Like, when he gets in there's a bit where he runs into the lift and the doors are supposed to close, and he hits the button, with the hairdresser, and he's like cowering in the corner, and he's just like pressing the button, and the lift doors won't shut, and he just goes, "Close, you cunt!" That's probably my favourite era of Connery, really. I mean, apart from obviously James Bond, but that sort of 90s action stuff, just before he kind of retired, really.
Yeah, well, I think it's because League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was his last thing, and I've always suspected that was just kind of gone like, yeah, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to do that.
I mean, he weirdly did the audio for the From Russia with Love.
Yeah, that was weird. That was odd that he came out of retirement to do that.
Because I thought he was all like, "Fuck James Bond, I don't," and then they're like, "Come back and do it." And again, it's that thing that you said about like old voices in new bodies in computer games, because it must be like, "Yes, I'll get the jetpack out," like, it's like, "Sean, you don't have to act it out." Like, it's like, no, I know my business. Like, but that's he did that, and then he did.
So no, go on, Karen.
And then, didn't he voice a teddy bear cartoon or something as well?
Right, some random. Okay, I can believe it. I can believe it.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you something to do for us as Sean Connery, if that's all right.
Okay.
So what happens is
I hope my wife doesn't check my history.
If you just read the title, and then you've got like it goes point 1, point 2, and then the list begins. Don't worry about reading the whole list. If you want to end on "here's what you need to know," that would be good. You see that?
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's making my laptop's going crazy because it's one of these pages full of adverts. Okay, right, here we go. What you need to know before trying out a swingers club. The first time I went to a swingers club, I was terrified. I had no clue how my partner and I would, 1, find another couple to have sex with, and then 2, actually do it. Instead, we got the lay, pun intended, of the land, and ended up doing each other in a room full of other people doing it while doing our best to act as if we totally did this as often as brushing our teeth. Since then, I've been back to enough adult lifestyle clubs to see how the social dynamics really work. If you're thinking of hitting up a swingers club, either solo or with a partner, here's what you need to know.
There you go. So that's old Sean Connery. That's
old Sean. Yeah, he's my favourite.
Yeah,
it's my old because he's very go fuck yourself.
It's so get off my lawn. It's get off my lawn, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
get off my lawn. He's turned into Brando.
Pay me.
He's Brando without the craziness, isn't he? Because Brando used to just do because he's in the very much like, fuck it, I'm Sean Connery, I could do what I like, but without going like, oh, I want to wear a donut on my ass or whatever. Brando's fucking bullshit was.
Yeah.
What's your favourite one to do? Would you have favourite ones?
Oh god, I don't know, not really. I don't know. It's whatever's in the moment. It's like it's fun. It's fun riffing on stuff sometimes, but I don't really have a favourite.
Well,
some days I can't be arsed with it though. Like, because I picked my dad up. Again, he's listening. I picked my dad up from having his van MOT'd a few weeks ago, and he'd been telling the lady in reception all about me and YouTube and that I do impressions, and she was like, "Go on, do Arnold Schwarzenegger. Go on, do it." And I'm like, "No, I don't," because I don't.
Well, it's when you're asked to do it at gunpoint like that, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's why I refused and left.
I'm not a performing monkey.
Yeah, you know, I swished my cape over my shoulder and walked out with my tailpipe. No, but there's nothing against people like that, and I do get where it comes from, and it is a very, it's. I know that people mean well, I suppose. It's just that thing of like, I don't know, like people just always thinking you want to do it, you know, like that you want to be like. It's that assumption as well that actors just always want to be on all the time, and it's like no, I don't. I prepare hard for when I work. And so I don't really think, you know, when you're asking me to just pull something out my arse, it's like, well, you're asking me to just suddenly switch on a thing that like does actually take work to do. You know, it's not.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of what I'm doing today, but you know, it's for the benefit. Of
It's different. No, it's different.
I've just popped something else over to WhatsApp. I don't look at it yet. We'll
Oh, okay.
and I took a screen grab so it won't affect your search history. Though you know, I'm not going to. No, I'm going to make the inappropriate comment I was going to make.
Okay.
One that I was going to go into this earlier, but I kind of swerved. Christopher Walken is one that everybody seems to think they can do, and I've observed you do it, and I try my best. What I really can't get is because something you've pointed out to me is like people like to do this sort of high bit, but they neglect that he really kind of slopes like that bell curve. It kind of slopes down into like a deep, you know what I mean? Because you do it really well. It kind of goes like. Oh, Walken, and then you do it, so it goes like down.
Yeah, he does peaks and troughs. I think as well. The other thing people tend, and this is what Kevin Spacey always did, was that weird sort of staccato delivery. But that's all he, you know. So he'd be like, you know, and it's like, there's more to it than that. That's only occasionally that he does that really. But yeah, you know, it's the shoulder thing as well. It's a physical thing. Sometimes I'm lazy with it and I don't do that. But yeah, it's that sort of I don't care. You know, it's I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
you got to kind of loosen it up. You know,
the way I was practicing it was with the Mickey Mouse Club song, and I was going like, "Who's the one that's got the club that's made for you and me? MICKEYMOUSE." So I can't.
USA.
Yeah. You go.
Whisper it. Don't.
I'm not sure. I can't. I think the problem is I can't do the turnaround quick enough. My voice is stuck up there, and I can't turn it around. Yeah, I can't even think how to do it.
Just loosen it down. You know, you're far too tense. Don't be so stressy. You gotta just take your time. He's New York as well. That's the thing. It's like, actually it's a New York. So it's sort of, you know, it is a New York. Again, it's like Al Pacino, like especially like young Al Pacino. It's like a sort of thing like that, and it's like it's in there. It's just it's you know, it's hidden down in there somewhere. That I guess because of how he says his vowels. So it's vowel. You know, it's like it's. And that's where I guess people get this impression that it's ow all the time. Yeah. It's not. It's just, wow, there you go. Again, because you don't hear people kind of do accurate impressions of him. Yeah. It's just a sort of imagined thing that he's then sort of gone into like and done himself.
Schwarzenegger doesn't sound like other Austrians. Connery doesn't sound like other Scots. Walken doesn't sound like other New Yorkers. Pierce doesn't sound like other Irish people. You know, there's something. They're from a definite place and space in time, but they're not what you'd expect. Because, like, you wouldn't put Walken into that dirty shitter type. You know what I mean? Like, no, yoink!
Yeah. He's not. But yeah, for him, it's an attitude. I think that's the thing people miss is the attitude. It's this sort of, you know, devil may care kind of, you know, shut up. You know, I don't know. It's just that thing of like. In most things, sort of post, I guess, 1991, he's kind of just this guy, you know, and everything's very, and that's what makes him great to watch. That's what makes him really interesting to look at. The true romance scene is obviously the one that's referenced. I think, even if people don't realise they're referencing it, that's the one where he's quite, you know, because it's a very powerful, very brilliantly done scene, but he's doing that sort of mob boss thing. He's like, I'm not even know where they are. You know, it's all that kind of. That's where he got. I think maybe that I don't know if that's like the origins of all that, but that's where it's really turned up to 11. You know, so Sicilians, great liars, the best in the world. Because, you know, he's sort of over there. And also because he's working opposite Dennis Hopper, who is incredible. So it's that whole interplay between them. And then it ends with him sort of doing you know, like literally goes that crazy and kisses him and stuff. And he's like, that's beautiful. Like, you know, he goes, they're beautiful. And then shoots him, obviously. Spoilers. Very old film. Brilliant film.
That's my impression.
That's yours, yeah. But a brilliant film actually, True Romance. Definitely go back and rewatch it if you haven't seen it for a while, because it's a bloody good film. And I've sort of had a renaissance of films like that recently that I kind of really underappreciated. Logan actually being one of them. I sort of watched part of it on TV the other day, and I was like, "Fuck, this is really good. It's way better than I remembered it."
Yeah, it was on Film 4 the other day, wasn't it?
It's bloody marvellous.
Right, well, I've got
really good.
I think what we'll finish on, because we're getting around the half-hour mark. No, we have to be half-hour, but let's finish on Michael Caine, because I think that's one that's requested of you a lot, and it is one that a lot of people do. I mean, like Paul Whitehouse used to do it, like, you know, all kinds of people do Michael Caine as a thing. It's a done thing. Something that Rob Brydon and Steve Coogan, and I'll put you in there as well. Have noticed it's the difference between young and old. Because they did that in The Trip, didn't they? The discussion of like what old Michael Caine sounds like versus, so it's like Batman Michael Caine versus younger Michael Caine. Would you just, if you could just warm up your old Michael Caine voice a little bit? I've sent you something in WhatsApp for you to read as old Michael Caine, just to get you going. Yeah.
Okay. So just, no problem. One thing I'll say as well that is kind of, I try and avoid, because once I get a voice in, I try and stretch it, because this is before we finish on this, and this is another thing that I've kind of noticed. It's like it's hard. It's one thing to be able to do, you know, something that someone's again like a Schwarzenegger is always like, get to the chopper, and everyone does his catchphrase, but then it's like, okay, have a conversation as Arnold, you know. Read this as Arnold, you know, as he would read it, you know. So and that's very hard to do because you're so plugged into them in one way. This is the trouble. This is where my Jeff Goldblum is stuck at the moment, because it's very kind of like just all right. It's
modern day eccentric weirdo Jeff Goldblum from the chat shows, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, but I can't. I'm not very good at kind of. I can't kind of run with it at the moment. You know, I'm working on
what you're doing. I like. It works really well. Okay. I'm a big fan of your modern day Jeff.
It's all that sort of. Anyway, I won't bother you with that today. Okay. Oh God, I can't.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I believe in you. This is what everyone pays for. Yeah, of course you can. Just listen up.
My dad watches.
Just do a bit. Oh God, he does. Philip, I'm so. Look, this is on me. All right, this is on me. It's not on Duncan. Duncan's better than this, Philip. I'm really sorry. Yeah. Now I know there's a parent in the room. I feel really bad.
Michael Caine's one of his heroes as well, so you are on the hook for this. There's no coming back. That's it. Right, Michael Caine. Here we go. Now So Well, and Rob Brydon brilliantly, obviously, pointed out it's the cigars and the brandy. So it's all got to the back of his throat. Right, here we go. Right, now then. I'm trying. I need to get here. Pay it right. It's right. Michael Caine. Right, here we go. Rimming is what the cool kids call using your tongue and mouth. No, I can't say that.
Yes, you can.
To stimulate someone else's anus. It can be focused primarily on the outer rim, hence rimming, but can also involve some. No, I can't say that. I'm not saying anymore. That's disgusting.
God, it's nearly finished. No, it's nearly finished. God,
it's like eating a bowl of worms.
But you're doing it so brilliantly.
It can also involve some dipping inside the anus with the tongue. Ugh! This feels so wrong. It's like my grandma reading it. The general technique is licking the perineum That's the bit between your bum and your genitals. Licking the outer rim, licking the bits around the anus, mouth and tongue on butt. That's really. I'm so going to hell. Like, this is wrong. He's going to phone me up and be like, right, I saw that.
Look, this is like when the bands do their gig and they don't play their biggest hit to the end.
I really hope that isn't my biggest hit.
Our biggest hit. Our biggest hit. We're Paul and Ringo, the surviving Beatles. I'm very much Ringo.
Now, not many people know that.
I was just waiting for you to say perineum.
Perineum. He's such a sweet man as well. And I read his autobiography recently that my dad, God bless him, bought me. And it was brilliant.
From the Elephant Hollywood?
No. Blowing the Bloody Doors Off, I think.
Oh, okay. I think I've got the newer or older one. I don't know which one I've got.
I think that's the older one. I've got that as well somewhere. But yeah. So that's, yeah. You dirty old butt.
Well, let's blow the doors off of this discussion. I hope you enjoyed that. I think it's just a nice thing to do because people often ask about it. I'm sorry to lower the tone, but you know what I'm like.
Yeah.
So there you go. We are in this format now. Owing to shaking his head, we're in this format now because the world is broken and we'll continue to do so. We've just talked about getting some guests on to do stuff remotely, haven't we? And what else have we got coming up, Duncan?
We are still plugging away on getting a live commentary together. I think we're going to try. What we're going to try and do is record a commentary that way without it being live, but test the waters, and then hopefully we'll be able to kind of get that, because it's a big risk if it doesn't work. So it's one of those things of trying to get it work, trying to proof it first, and then. But we are aiming for that so that you guys can kind of watch along with us, even if it's something we can't actually show. We will try and do B-movie stuff that you can actually watch with us in a watch party, but also if it's something you've got copies of and you can just press play along with us, and then you can comment and kind of talk to us live. Although I've sort of thought about that practically, and actually it's so distracting looking at live comments all the time.
Well, I think what we would probably do is have the chat on the go so everyone can talk among themselves, have a moderator in the chat, but you and I perhaps just focus on the task at hand, and maybe like do some. Yeah. We could do some chat after the movie as well. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll figure it out somehow, won't we?
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. So yeah. All right. Well, that's it.
Where there's a will, there's a way. Exactly. Now that is an impression. That's an impression of my mum's electrician. He used to come round in a knitted woolly hat, I think, by his mum, and he'd be like, he was always quiet. So, where there's a will, there's a way. That's what he used to say.
That's a proper 1970s sitcom character type.
Yeah, he had a moustache as well and everything, and
wow.
the little tie. He was probably like had the dungarees and the old knackered old shirt and the little tie on.
Oh, brilliant!
He was a really sweet guy.
Oh.
Yeah, so there you go.
Well, all right, we're going to wrap this up. This is our special. This is our Duncan's accents and impressions special. And I'm going to let's cut this.
We didn't even get to accents, but
we'll do that because I'll have a video. Let's bring the content out of this. We hope you're enjoying your lockdown as we are. And we will see you next time for more. Watch out on social and stuff for announcements about what's coming up soon. Bye!
Bye now.
Support your 7th or 8th favourite YouTube channel by buying crap, tat, junk, hogwash and filth at redbubble.com/people/Val Verde Shop.